It is my pleasure to introduce our musical inspiration and guest speaker, Karen Drucker. She has been a singing mermaid, a singing casket, and she was literally elevator music when she sang and played piano in a moving elevator. She received an honorary doctorate of music for her work in the Centers for Spiritual Living Community and a Grace Note Award for her work in the Unity Movement. She has recorded 20 CDs of her original inspired music, and her book, Let Go of the Shore, has been a bestseller. She sings, speaks, and leads workshops all over the country, and she loves making music, making a difference, and touching hearts. Karen is offering a free 90-minute virtual singing event the second Sunday evening of each month. And Sunday, March 14th, the theme will be all about healing. Links are in the comments or just go to karendrucker.com. Please help me welcome Karen Drucker.
Yay! Hi, everybody. So nice to be with you today. Good morning. This is my magic wand. Wait. That says you can sing with me. So I'm going to sing this song. If you want to sing the chorus with me, feel free. My religion is kindness. My church is nature. My God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Now everyone has a story, and everyone has pain. When we strip away our masks, we find that we're really all the same. It's those little things we say and do that can mean so much. It's a smile, a connection, a simple love and touch. My religion is kindness. Here's your part. My church is nature. My God is a feeling. Lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Now, today I'm gonna ask myself, what more can I do to be a radiant child of God and let my love shine through? Go let my heart be my guide to be the best I can be. I'm gonna share my joy, share my love, give it boundlessly. My religion is kindness. My church is nature. My God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious. That's a job. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness. Gonna practice it every day. It's time to play. Every day. You just have to imagine it's a saxophone. The hill to fetch a pail of water. Well, then Jack fell down and broke his crown. Jill came running after. She said, Jack, tell me, what can I do to help ease your mind? He said, hold my hand and just be kind. I know I'll be fine. My religion is kindness. My church is nature. My God is this feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. My religion is kindness, and my church is nature, and my God is a feeling. Lives so deep inside. My job is to be conscious. My path is forgiveness. My religion is kindness. I practice it every day. My religion is kindness. Gonna practice it every day. My religion is kindness. Can I hear an amen on that, please? And I'm going to practice it. Amen. Thank you, Nicole. Every day. Are you going to practice this with me? You say yes. I say yes. Every day. And the crowd goes wild. So that's how I amuse myself. I actually was telling a friend of mine that it's so sad that after I perform, I've been doing this now for 8 months on Zoom, and it's like I never hear live applause. So she gave me my applause button. And you know your life is a little pathetic when you walk in your room and you just hit it just because you need to hear applause. Oh my, I'm amusing myself. Good morning. How are you? I wish I was there in person with you all, but this is the next best thing. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. One of my favorite churches to go to. So my religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Practice it. Now, sometimes we associate the word practice with something really hard. But I'm going to give you a shift on this today. Today, my talk is going to be all about remembering. I want to just give you these gentle reminders of things that you already know. And practicing kindness is a conscious spiritual choice to every morning wake up and say, today, this is how I want to spend my day. I love what Peter was reading about the idea that when we are unconscious, when we are in that confused state of like, I don't know, you stay within yourself. You you have this bubble around you. But when we allow ourselves to practice being kind, when we allow ourselves to practice being present, that you start every morning saying, I want to be present today. I want to see the world. That's when we open up our vision to be able to look around and see other people. But it starts with us, and that's the main thing I'm going to talk about today, is it starts with being kind to ourselves, because from that place, from that filled up cup, that's when we can start to see other people, see people close to us in our family, our friends, but then also to have a bigger vision of the world. And, you know, this is I feel like this is my calling this year. You know, when I was looking at all the different talks I'm going to do throughout the year, I thought, you know, I really want to make my main message be about this. Because I don't know about you, but I've gotten very affected by the divide in our country. And I just felt like, well, what is mine to do? I actually have a song, you know, what is mine to do? What is mine to give? And I realized, well, what is mine to do in this? On a small level, whatever level I can do, I want to talk about kindness. I want to remind people to come back to center and be kind to ourselves and kind to other people, because I truly believe that we are going to change the world one heart at a time, one smile at a time, one smile underneath the mask at a time, that we can still give out that love to each other. But as I said, it starts with us. So my question to you is, did you wake up this morning, look in the mirror and go, oh my God, have you gotten more beautiful overnight? What's the deal, you gorgeous thing? Did you look in the mirror and go, oh, look at this face? I wonder if you did that. Well, or did you go, oh my God, everything's dropping? It starts with us. It starts with having that practice of saying the first thing in the morning, what is the first thing you say? So the biggest practice that I have, my spiritual practice that I do with every workshop I do, every retreat I do, is have everyone put their hand over their heart. So do it right now with me. Put your hand over your heart. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. And just drop down. Just drop down a notch. And just say, what does my heart have to say to me today? What does my heart have to say? And when you listen from that place of stillness, your heart might be saying, oh, honey girl, you've just been working too hard. You need to take a break. Go get a massage. Or, oh, you know that meeting you're supposed to do this afternoon? You know, you got to get out of it because you just need to have some time to yourself. Or eat better. Or your heart might be saying, just go lie down, take a rest. Whatever it is, you let it be okay. Let it be okay, because that's the first step of kindness to me, is acknowledging what your truth is. So you can open your eyes. But that's a great practice to do every day, because if you allow yourself to drop down a few notches, you will hear what is true for you that day. And that's part of being present, and that's part of being in that state of not being confused. So again, on the level of reminding you of a few things, I wanna just share. I'm a storyteller. I love telling stories, and but before I do that, but the song that I just sang, I got from the Dalai Lama, because the Dalai Lama said, "This is my religion. There is no need for temples, no need for complicated philosophy. Our own brain, our own heart is our temple, and that philosophy is kindness. Dalai Lama. So, in this pandemic, there have been a lot of different stories of kindness of people, and I found a few stories I'd love to share with you today. There's a 4-year-old girl named Luna who lives in Belgium. And when Luna heard about the pandemic, that people couldn't go out, she thought of some of her older neighbors on her street. And she was really affected by the fact that these people were alone. So at 4 years old, she makes it her job that she's going to write them a letter every day, that she's going to make little cartoons and pictures and deliver them to their doorstep like a postman every day. This was her calling. I love that, at 4 years old. But then one day she said to her mom, she said, if I'm delivering my my little letters to these people, I should look official. I don't look official enough. And so her mother wrote to the local postman and said, this is pretty wild, but my daughter would love to see if she can get like a little satchel or some kind of a postman outfit to look official. So someone in that post office decided to really take this on and made her a whole little outfit. Look at this. Is she just adorable with her little satchel? And this is her whole little postman outfit. And her quote that I love, she said, I take occasional breaks at the jungle gym, but I end my work day very tired but very happy. Isn't that great? One of the things that I used to, when I was in San Francisco, they used to, when you cross the Golden Gate Bridge, that's where I live in San Francisco, by the way. When you cross the Golden Gate Bridge, you used to be able to pay for people behind you. And now they just have those automated things that you just drive through, which I don't like anymore. But I used to love that because I would pay for the person behind me. And a lot of times these people would like practically ram my car trying to say, thank you. But I love this story that in Ohio, there was a woman who came up to get her, I think it was Dairy Queen. Yes, it was Dairy Queen. She was going through the drive-through, and the person before her paid for her lunch. And she was just amazed. No one had ever done that for her before. So all of a sudden she thought, well, I should do that to the person next, behind me. And she looked around to make sure there wasn't like a busload of kids. But when she found there was just one single woman behind her, she said, okay, I'm going to do this. But that day started this thing that they took a picture of this. 900 people at the local Dairy Queen in Ohio, 900 people paid for the next person after them. And I love this. A 10-year-old kid decided that they were going to help all the hospital workers. And it was, in the snow, that they wanted to make sure that after a long day of being in the hospital, that they were able to get into their cars and go home. And look at this. What they did was they did 80 cars a day. They would just come, and she and a friend were doing 80 cars in the hospital for the staff to make it a bit easier for the staff to be able to go home in the dark, in the cold. But my favorite personal story right now that's happening is I have a musician friend of mine, who, just like me last year in March, lost all his work for the rest of the year. For me, all of a sudden the jobs just went like that, and I was in a panic, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to make a living? And this guy had a family, and he was pretty desperate. He couldn't wait around to figure it out. He just went out and just saw anything that was available to make some money. And he wound up getting a job at a local grocery store around here. And when I ran into him, and he looked really kind of like he didn't want me to see him because he was humiliated, that it's like, come on, I'm this, singer, songwriter, and I travel the world, and all of a sudden now the only job he could get at the grocery store was being the person who would disinfect the carts and give them to people. But I saw him the next week after that, and he told me this story that I just thought was just so perfect. He said that when he first got this job, he was really upset and depressed and humiliated, like, this is not all of who he is. But one day he had this realization when there was a woman who came towards him wanting to get a cart, and she looked so sad, and she was an older woman. And he just in that moment got that she wasn't even, she just looked really lonely. And he came up and said, how are you doing? Let me give you this cart, and I hope you have a nice day. And he watched her face just transform, just from him being kind. And what he got in that moment was well, actually, what the woman said to him. She said, I can't tell you how sweet it was that you took that time to say hello to me. She came out after she had shopped. She made sure she talked to him. She said, I live by myself. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not seeing anybody. The only time that I physically see people is when I come out once a week to do my grocery shopping. And you coming up to me and saying just hello, and your sincerity just opened up my heart, and it just, like, my day is better because of it. And when we get realizations, sometimes they're like boom, like that. Have you ever had those little aha moments where it's just like boom, like these things you've been working on for years in a moment transform? And in that moment, he had that transformation of just going, wow, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. I'm supposed to be here being an ambassador of love in this pandemic to just every single person who comes up and wants a cart from me, that I greet them with love and compassion and see them and hear them. I mean, isn't that the most beautiful gift we can give anybody, is being seen and heard? I mean, that's it right there. I mean, that's what's so beautiful about your community, that you are all still connecting like this and being able to see each other and being this loving community for each other. That's what we need right now. That's what kindness is. And so he transformed this job, and I saw him again last week, and he said, I'm loving this job. I'm writing new songs. I'm feeling, my purpose and my passion. It doesn't matter where you are. Kindness starts where you are. And it's a choice. Every day, it's a choice. And the other thing about this, when you start to put that kindness out to other people, I want to just make the point of, it's vulnerable. It's vulnerable when you do that. But again, it's that choice of, do I want to stay inside myself in confusion and, whatever, or do I want to just take that risk and just put my hand out to someone? It might not be received every time the way you want it to be, but at least you are allowing your heart to see that. I remember I was at Starbucks, and one of my things when I would be on the road is I used to always, I don't know if I told you the story last year or not, but it's my favorite story. I was in Starbucks, my personal church, and I had this little game that I used to play when I would travel, that I would have $21 bills, and I'd want to get rid of those $1 bills by the time I got home, and it would be through, paying for someone or doing, the little tips or whatever. But in this particular instance, there was a woman fumbling for her change. And I, in that moment, it's like, oh, I could do this. And I said to the barista, oh, I'll pay for her coffee. And this woman, she turned to me, the look on her face, she was like, why would you do that? I don't need you to do that. Give it to someone who needs it. I don't need it. And I wanted to say, there's a religious science church right down the road you might want to check out, but I did not say that. And I just remember it was just so uncomfortable. And we kind of started like fighting. I'm like fighting with this woman. It's just, it's just one cup of coffee that she wanted. And I said, it's like, we're going back and forth. And finally I just said, lady, it's a cup of coffee. Just take it. It's one of the things I do. So just take it. She said, fine, whatever. And so, and that's the example of like, I'm feeling like, oh, Drucker, you jerk. Why did you do this? And then you're forced to go stand, farther down where they make the drinks. And now we're standing next to each other. And I'm going, oh, this was just a big mistake. I felt so uncomfortable. And it's just, we're both standing there. But then she looks at me. She turns to me and she looks at her face is totally different now. And she said, okay, I'm getting over it. I just want to say that no one ever does this for me. And, thanks a lot. It just, no one ever does this for me. And I said, well, thank you. It makes me feel better. It's kind of a selfish thing, but it makes me feel better to do this for people, to, have these little acts of kindness throughout the day. And then we stood there again in sort of this uncomfortable silence. Then she turns to me one more time and she goes, so is this one of those pay it forward deals? So I'm like, whatever, lady, do what you want to do. But my point is, it's like you have to allow yourself, you have to make that choice of like, yeah, it's going to be vulnerable. I might feel like an idiot. They might totally reject me. But that's my choice, to say every day, that's my practice, that's what I want to do. And I'm going to give you a story of one of my favorite stories is that when we allow ourselves to be kind to ourselves, that concept of when you're on an airplane and they say, if you need oxygen, give it to yourself first and then your whiny husband or kid. That's what it's all about. If we can give ourselves that kindness first. And fast story, this is a friend of mine who was a nurse back in Kansas. This was many years ago. She was a nurse, and she was born with cerebral palsy and always hated her body, just hated her body. And she got diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. And because she was a nurse, she knew what this looked like. She knew what was going to happen. And she made a vow that day when she found out about this. She said, I am going to, by the time I leave this body, I'm going to love it. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to acknowledge myself. I'm going to love myself. So she played a game with herself. I need some water. One sec. She played a game with herself that she had to, her spiritual practice was she had to stand in front of the mirror every day naked and find things about her body that she liked. And when she first started, she didn't like anything, couldn't find one thing. But she did this over and over. This was her practice. And eventually, months later, now she's in a wheelchair, she starts to see that there are qualities of herself that she loves. Physical things, her hands, her hair, her whatever. And then she started to really look at the qualities that she is. And she started to give herself gratitude and credit and acknowledgement every day. And the reason why I love telling this story is it's really an example of how amazing it is that the power of love and gratitude can heal. And because of this amazing practice, she healed herself of ALS. She's one of a handful of people who have done this. And her name is Evie McDonald, and she lives in Arizona, actually. And I was very fortunate. I wrote a song about this, and I was very fortunate. I was at a conference, and they said, oh, can you sing some songs before our keynote speaker? And it turned out to be Evie McDonald. And so we've been friends ever since. But my point is, when you think about the things that you see in yourself, and we can be so mean to ourselves, can't we? The things we say, we would never say, some of the things that we say to ourselves that we'd say to a child or a friend. But when you think about what we say to ourselves, that's what's got to change. Because when we're more present to ourselves, we can be more present to others. And I love this quote, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. You have no idea what people are going through. No idea. That one little piece of kindness that you do, that one, smile at somebody, you just have no idea. Actually, I was getting my hair done a couple months ago. And yes, I color my hair. Thank you, God. It's like hysterical. One of the things that's so funny about pandemic, it's like you could see all the different talks I've done at different places, all the different variations of red that have happened over the last 8 months, but that's another story, more therapy. But I was listening to this woman that was 6 feet away from me. She's getting her hair done. She was all coiffed. She was an elderly woman. She's getting her hair all done up. And I was overhearing her talk to my friend Anne, who was doing her hair. And she was talking about how her husband had cancer and how she was all alone and taking care of him, and the struggle and the strain and the stress of all of this stuff. And it was so amazing because I was listening to my friend Anne, who just kept saying, she was doing her hair, and she just kept saying, tell me more. Tell me more. And she let this woman just offload all of this stuff. I mean, this was, again, probably another situation that this is the only place that she was talking to somebody. Just tell me more. Tell me more. And I remember watching the woman walk out, and she was completely just perfectly coiffed and walked out and just looked very nice and walking down the street. And I'm thinking, no one's going to know what this woman's going through. I mean, I heard all the behind the scenes, but it's like you have no idea, what someone's going through. And, for me personally, I remember years ago after my mother had died, I don't know if for any of you who have had a loss, you know how you can have like a wave come up? Like, you're fine, life is okay. It could be 2 weeks later, it could be a month later, it could be a year later, it could be 10 years later after the incident has happened. But all of a sudden, you can feel this wave come up of grief and emotion. And I think it was probably about 6 months after my mom had died. And I was in Costco, and I think I was in the toilet paper section. And I'm about to get my little toilet paper, and all of a sudden, the wave came. And I just remember that it was like there was no place I could go. I just had to feel it. And I just stood there and I let the tears come. I mean, I wasn't bawling, I wasn't making a scene. I put my head down and I just started crying. And out of nowhere, I felt a hand just do this to me. Put a hand on my shoulder. Just put a hand on my shoulder. And I remember that feeling of just feeling someone say to me without any words, I hear you, I see you. I've been there. Whatever it was that they were communicating to me, that in that moment, I felt it. And I remember feeling the wave pass through. And I looked around, and nobody was there. That's what kindness is. It's the smallest things to ourselves, to each other, just allowing it to be that we can say to someone, I see you. I love this. I just found this quote, and this is, I think, why I'm so motivated with all of this stuff. This is from our new president. He said, it's every act of kindness, anytime you do anything that says, I see you as another being, another human being. And he said, we're going to work through this one person at a time with kindness. And it's interesting when I think about politics, it's like if someone fell down in front of you, you wouldn't say to them, are you a Republican or a Democrat? You would just say, can I help you up? And that's what this is about right now, is helping each other through. And so when I think of how it starts with us and then we go to the people in our lives, it can even be right within our own houses, right within our own homes, of the smallest things, especially with this pandemic of being with people all year long. It could be a little trying. But one of my favorite little stories of this is my friend who has their elderly couple, and every morning Jerry would make a bagel and he'd slice it. And when his wife would wake up to go get her coffee, there would be bagel crumbs all over the sink. And every morning, talk about a spiritual practice, she'd wake up pissed because she would say, Jerry, can you just wipe up the bagel crumbs so that they're not all over the sink when I come? It's like, just take a cloth, one swoop, that's it. She'd ask him every single morning. And every morning he wouldn't do it. And every morning she would be pissy. And then one day, again, one of those aha moments, this one morning, she looked at those bagel crumbs and she was about to get upset. And in that moment, she realized that because she was seeing the bagel crumbs, it meant he was still here. Because she realized in that moment, one day there will be no bagel crumbs. I mean, the smallest thing. And from that moment on, she was done. She wiped up the bagel crumbs and greeted him with a kiss. And that's what we can do for each other. Just be kind. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. That's it. So one other little story I want to show you is that there was a policeman who answered the call because there was a 92-year-old man having a cow in Bank of America. I don't even know where this was actually, what state, but he was just having a fit because he went to Bank of America and he was going to withdraw his money. He wanted to get some money out of the bank, and his driver's license had expired, and because of that, they wouldn't give him his money. They said you have to have a valid, federal identification, and it was expired. And he just was having a fit, so much so that they called the police. And this policeman came, and where they could have just arrested him and taken him away, this guy took the time to look at him and find out his name and say, "What's the problem, sir?" And he just said, "I've been with this bank for 90 years. And he goes, "Well, let's see what we can do." And this policeman who had all these calls to make and all this stuff going on, in that moment he said, this is mine to do. So he took the man to the DMV, called ahead of time so that they would be ready for him, whisked him through the DMV, got him his new license, and did everything possible to make this work. And here's a picture of him taking him to the DMV. I mean, look at this little man, this big officer. And the reason I tell you this is because I can't remember what the statistic was. Let me see. I wonder if I have it here still. Yes, I do. Wait a minute. That this little story, I mean, this is just a little story. This story was shared by 257,000 people and got 19,000 comments on it. And the reason I share this to you is because this is who we are. We want these stories of kindness. We want to be reminded. We want to know that there's good in the world. And, with our philosophy, that's what it's all about for us. It's like whatever you focus in on grows. So if you focus in on kindness to yourself, being gentle with yourself. I mean, this is what we're going to talk about in my workshop this afternoon, is the idea of when you're kind to yourself, when you take that inner critic and go, back off, this is how I want to be. Everyone practice that for a second. Back off, because that inner critic's going to come up and go, but when we are allowing ourselves to be kind, that's when, to me, we heal this world, and that's what we need. Do you agree? We need some healing in this world. Amen. So I'll end with one more song here. All we can do is be there for each other in those times when we don't know what to do. All we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. Ain't that the truth? I'll sing it again. All we can do is be there for each other in these times when we don't know what to do. All we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. All right, I'm going to give you some homework this week. If I were to be kind to myself this week, I would fill in the blank. Do what? If you were to be kind to yourself, just doing one thing, what would that be this week? Take the first thing that comes up. Now, if you were going to be kind to someone else in your life, do you have a bagel crumb person in your life? Maybe you can forgive them, call them, whatever. What is one kind act you could do this week? Because, it's International Kindness Week. So you got a whole week to do this. And then if you were going to be kind to the world, to your community, to your church, to just a bigger group, what would that look like? But I'm going to go back to that first question. What would you do for yourself? Think of one thing that you're going to commit to. Because all we can do is be there for each other and help each other through. In a world where you can be anything, just be kind. Just be kind. Thanks for listening, everybody. Sure appreciate it.